Today, 50 characters from your favorite hero shooter games enter the Squid Game. Only one leaves with the dub. Let the chaos begin.
Welcome to the Squid Game. We're excited for everyone to play.
We're picking at least one hero to represent each role or faction their respective game has. That said, today's contestants are the Scout, Heavy Weapons Guy, the Sniper, and Spy, all representing Team Fortress 2, the Civilian, the Pyromaniac, and the Combat Medic from TF Classic, Tracer, Widowmaker, D.Va, and Mercy from Overwatch, Sojourn, Junker Queen, and Kiriko from Overwatch 2, Soa, Jet Justice, and Ravebreaker from Foam Stars, Bruce Banner, Spider-Man, and Luna Snow from Marvel Rivals, Pea Shooter, Chomper, and Sunflower representing the plants in Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare, Foot Soldier, Scientist, and Super Brains to represent the zombie faction of that game, Reyna, Astra, Sova, and Killjoy representing Valorant, Fuse, Wraith, Bloodhound, Rampart, and Loba from Apex Legends, Boldor, Ambra, Cleese, Toby the Penguin, and Galt for Battleborn, Dwight Fairfield, Felix Richter, and Sable Ward from the Survivors in Dead by Daylight, the Wraith, the Blight, and the Unknown for the Killers in Dead by Daylight, and to round off the list with some crossovers from the game, Ashley Williams for the Survivors crossover character, Dubarao pulling double duty representing the Survivors skin crossover pick for Renato Lyra and Rainbow Six Siege, the Executioner aka Pyramid Head for the Killers crossover character, and finally we have Naughty Bear representing the Killers crossover skin for the Trapper. We sent a couple invitations out to Concord characters, but that game burned it down before we could even decide on whom to make the letters out to, so I'm sorry, Concord.
The following are the ground rules in this Squid Game. Number 1, no outside allies or sidekicks. 2, no outside weapons, with the sole exception of any equipment needed to survive. Number 3, no magic. 4, natural abilities are allowed. The first game is red light, green light. You may move forward when it shouts green light, stop when it shouts red light. If your movement is detected afterwards, you will be eliminated.
Speedsters and blood-hardened veterans will thrive here. Scout's brutal streak and quick feet make him a frontrunner, and Heavy, despite appearances, escaped a Russian gulag, so Squid Game might actually be a downgrade. You don't jog out of places like that unless speed is in your DNA. The Dead by Daylight crew, Felix, Sable Ward, Ashley Williams, Tubarao, are built for this. No generators, no entity, just a deadly game of red light, green light. Even Dwight, the Charlie Brown of horror, might fumble his way to safety thanks to all that cardio. Tracer and Sojourn are solid picks too. Lina can't blink through time here, but her reflexes still kill. Spider-Man's Spidey sense should help him nail the stop-go rhythm like a pro. Surprisingly, we think the Civilian makes it, mostly because he has the Pyromaniac and the Combat Medic babysitting him again. Foot Soldier and Scientist have Zomboss training and no plants in sight, so they'll likely keep their limbs. Widowmaker and Sova, cold, focused, and too experienced to flinch at a little blood. Ashley Williams, again, eats zombies for breakfast. D.Va lives for pressure and live streams it. She'll be fine, and probably upload a real-life Squid Game, not clickbait video the second she's out. Toby the Penguin built his own battle suit, so yeah, he knows what's at stake. Luna Snow's agility will keep her from sliding into a death trap. And while he's made of fluff, Naughty Bear's pre-speedrun scenes show he can sprint, trap, and kill in seconds. He might finish before the doll even turns around. But someone's gotta go first, and that's Astra.
Player eliminated.
She treats battle like a game and ends up showing everyone what real consequences look like. Foam Stars Soa, Jet Justice, and Ravebreaker also bite it early.
Players eliminated.
The game they came from has no death, just chilling. That mindset and the fact they literally slide everywhere is a death sentence here.
Ready for the Foam Star party?
Then comes Super Brains.
Player eliminated.
Strong? Sure. Smart? Absolutely not. He thinks he's a hero and either rushes the guards or dives in like he's saving the day. Either way, splat. Pyramid Head may be scary.
Player eliminated.
But he's slower than Molasses, and that giant metal head isn't helping. He's not even seeing the halfway point. Finally, the Wraith.
Player eliminated.
He's not eliminated by clumsiness nor fear. He sees the rich pulling the strings and tries to stop them. It's noble, but these guards don't hesitate. At least we don't have to confuse him with Apex Wraith anymore. She made it.
43 out of 50 players remain. Let's move on to the next game, Honeycomb. Players must cut out the shape from their cookies. Those who break their cookie or run out of time will be eliminated.
Patience, steady hands, and creativity are the name of the game here. Scout, Heavy, Sniper, and Spy all pass this one with ease. After all, they've crafted bizarre weapons like the Soda Popper and Spy Cycle. We originally doubted Scout's patience, but the finale TF2 comic revealed he became a father of 4, bought a house, and even threw a Christmas party for the whole team. That's dad tier stability. Now remember this, it's key for how far Scout gets. Despite his fluffy rage, Naughty Bear is a trap expert and environmental killer, meaning he'll have no trouble planning his way through cookie cutting. athletic and science-minded characters also breeze through this. Killjoy, the scientist, combat medic, and Bruce Banner, assuming he's not Hulk smashing the cookie. Even in endgame, Hulk's got enough control to finesse this one. The Blight, formerly a chemist, can easily slice through, and surprise, Boldor makes it. Working with Eldred scientists paid off. Cleese, despite being old and cranky, is a robotics expert. Cookie shapes? Child's play. The Dead by Daylight survivors, Dwight, Felix, Sable, Ashley, Tubarão, deal with generators and terror daily. Gunshots won't phase them, they cut clean and survive. Gunshots, though, will be frequent because Pea Shooter, Sunflower, and Chopper are all out.
Players eliminated.
Let's be real, vines and petals aren't cookie-cutting tools. Chopper might even bite into his cookie while lunging at a zombie. Oops. The civilian drops here.
Player eliminated.
Without his previous round babysitters, he's lost. Then there's the unknown.
Player, you have been eliminated.
Yeah, sure, this guy's great at ripping enemies apart and stringing them up on hooks, but delicate work? Not the unknown's thing. Those wiggly limbs don't scream steady hands. Finally, Junker Queen gets eliminated, not for lack of skill, but because her brute strength works against her. She might crush the cookie just picking it up. Those muscles? Too powerful for pastry.
37 players remain. It's time for our next game, six-legged pentathlon. The rules are as follows. Players will split up into groups of 5, tie their legs together, and move in tandem around a track. Every 10 meters, one player will play a mini-game until it is completed, with each member playing once. The goal is to complete all games in the allotted time, repeating each one until it is complete.
So, here are the mini-games. Dak G, throw a paper tile at the ground to flip over another paper tile. Flying Stone, throw a small stone at another small stone and knock it down. Gong Gi, a traditional game of Korean jacks. Spinning Top, Jeggy kick a Jeggy in the air 5 times in a row, kinda like hacky sack. Balance, composure, cooperation, and most importantly, general gaming prowess are the most important characteristics of this game. Not to mention picking a good team. This will be the point of the game where alliances and teams start to be formed. For obvious winning teams, groups are going to stick close to the same game, and Scout, Heavy, Sniper, and Spy are the closest there is. Despite all the bickering and taunting, these guys are close to each other and still fight on the same side for a reason. They genuinely care for each other. Plus, with Scout being a single dad, he probably has some experience with kids games like these, or at least within the same ballpark that can help him out. There's that dad bonus helping him and the team out again. As for the 5th member, given how the combat medic wasn't part of the classic mercenaries who fought the modern TF2 crew in The Naked and the Dead, they may be willing to let this doctor in. Likewise, Mercy, Tracer, D.Va, and Sojourn will get together and be capable of winning. As a gamer, D.Va definitely will be able to help out with her knowledge, and while not an official member of Overwatch, Chico is not only affable enough to get along with the Overwatch crew, but her skills of being a vigilante will help out. The Marvel superheroes were built for these kinds of fun yet deadly team games. Spider-Man, Luna Snow, and Bruce Banner are more than capable of working together with careful precision and getting friendly with anyone they need to survive. Killjoy is a very capable fighter on the field while still being affable, so she'll be more than willing to leave her Valorant group for one more friendly. Lastly, we think Naughty Bear is going to be a surprise aid for them. His problem was that the bears on Perfection Island rejected any attempts to form a friendship with him, even after he wanted to apologize for being a bully and save them from getting taken over. These heroes are no strangers to villains turning a new leaf, so they'd give him a shot. Apex Legends, Battleborn, and the Dead by Daylight survivors all have 5 characters each in the running still, and they all work well together enough, or at least can tolerate each other to survive. So for Apex Legends, Fuse, Wraith, Bloodhound, Rampart, and Loba will team up. The Battleborn heroes joining together and winning here are Galt, Boldor, Umbra, Cleese, and Toby the Penguin. Finally, the 3 survivors of the Dead by Daylight games, Dwight, Fairfield, Felix Richer, and Sable Ward, and the 2 crossover survivors, Ashley Williams and Tubarão, are going to be more than capable of working as one group. And finally, while they're not as affable as others, we're confident that the stoic snipers, Widowmaker, Sova, and Reyna will be able to see the need to stick together. They're skilled shots, so Dakji and Flying Stone will be easy for them. Similarly, the Pyromaniac is more than capable of working together with the team like before in brutal conditions, so she can perform a truce here to save her head. Yeah, this Pyro is a girl called Beatrice. No clues on the TF2 Pyro's identity, however. Anyway, despite his status, we believe that the Scientist can be a good final pick here. He's more aware of the world than the usual zombies, so with his technical know-how, he'll be able to promise that he won't bite their brains just for them to beat this round, at least. However, with 2 extra players, they're going to have to be knocked out if no one else wants to adopt them into their squad. The first one gone is the Blight.
Player, you have been eliminated.
For a monster who usually seems to kill others, the Blight has done a lot better than others. Heck, he managed to get further than Pyramid Head. However, he's still a cruel monster who hunts survivors on his own, and even the other cold killers here have their own experience working with others outside their groups, so they're not gonna take him in. Our second fallen soldier here is the Foot Soldier.
Player eliminated.
Listen, we've been trying to be polite about the fact that there are literal zombies here, but while we can see the Scientist resisting the brain-eating urge, not the Foot Soldier. He's just going to get shot down by the guards before he can bite anyone now that the players have to be close.
35 players remain. Our next game is Mingle. Here are the rules. Players will stand on a rotating platform in the center of a large circular room. At any given moment, a number will be called out, at which point players have 30 seconds to get into groups of said number and secure a room for themselves. Any player who does not find a room with the correct number of players will be eliminated.
Speed, strength, composure, and charisma will be your best friends here. We also needed to take into account which characters are the most loyal to their friends, which are most likely to sacrifice themselves for their sake, and which ones would be willing to sabotage others for the sake of saving their own butts. Speedy characters like Scout, Tracer, and Sojourn would easily be able to claim victory on a first-come, first-served basis. Plus, with their teammates like Sniper, Spy, Mercy, and D.Va, they'll be able to organize between two nearby rooms to quickly sort out how many people they need in each room. In terms of being able to intimidate others to their side for his new friends he got last round, Naughty Bear is going to ensure that Killjoy and Luna Snow make it into a room to survive. Given that she was previously being threatened by him and being chased by him thanks to the entity, we think that Sable Ward is going to be willing to follow him if it means he won't shank her. Widowmaker and Reyna are cold enough to not mind the idea of leaving someone to die, so they'll squeeze on through. Given the obvious affinity for fire, we can see people getting unnerved and willing to let the pyromaniac slide into a room with them. Being weak isn't a death sentence if you have a good companion. Toby the Penguin will be in good company with Galt, showing mercy on him to carry him into a room while keeping the door open for others. She may look the part of a villain, but Ambra is more than capable of being caring towards others, even if she is condescendingly doing so. So she can help that they have at least enough members to ensure they'll all make it into a room safely. But of course, in a game where coldness is rewarded, there's going to be a ton of people who fall because of the callous nature of these fighters. The first fighter getting shot down here is sadly the face of hero shooters, TF2's heavy weapons guy.
Player eliminated.
This heavyweight could easily just toss someone else out if needed, but yet this guy is surprisingly one of the most wholesome fighters here. He risked dying to the guards in the gulag just to lead his family to safety, and in the end of the line, Heavy was willing to stop a train by himself from destroying the red team's base. He'll step out and take one for his team. But yeah, we have a lot of sacrifices, starting with Bruce Banner.
Player eliminated.
Given how he was willing to sacrifice himself in Avengers Endgame to bring back half the population that Thanos snapped out of existence, we think that he'll be more than content giving up his spot to save a group of people. Likewise, Boldor will also decide to bite the bullet.
Player eliminated.
He's a nice Ekunar native who's letting a cedar bear grow on the stump in his back, even if it kills him. Someone that friendly with that level of dedication to something that isn't even alive will allow his teammates to live over him. Along with him, we have to cut Fuse's fuse short.
Player eliminated.
Given how affable he is, even being friendly to Bloodhound to the point where he mistakes them for being together and saving an MRVN pilot, he'll be willing to sacrifice himself too. Unfortunately, heroes do have to die around here, and Spider-Man is one of the most heroic there is.
Player eliminated.
We can easily see Spider-Man giving up his spot to let others live. However, given how often comic characters die and how they always get out of insane situations, we're gonna be generous and say thanks to his spider sense, Spider-Man somehow escapes. Despite managing to survive until now, Dwight Fairfield's luck has finally run out.
Player, you have been eliminated.
Yeah, sure, he has experience running from a monster in a map to the exit, but here, where there's way more than one opponent to contend with, he's not going to be able to push back when push comes to shove. Likewise, we feel like it's only fair that Felix Richter also falls here.
Player eliminated.
His skill of being raised with an engineering background and surviving the entity's killers helped him before, but with no social skills and being awkward at starting up conversations and trying to connect, he's gonna be seen as a weak link. The scientist managed to be the furthest reaching zombie character here, but there are only so many games where being a zombie can be seen as negligible. Given how intelligence and precision aren't required here, that's not going to cut it this time. He lasted far longer than a walking corpse probably should, if it's any consolation. On a similar note, Cleese is also going to be left out.
Player eliminated.
Sure, he may have made more than enough enemies being a bad boss for Minion Robotics, so no one is going to be sad about his loss, but what seals him here is the fact that he grew and changed as a person enough to be concerned with Galt in the archive when they were saving data over people. We can see a surprise sacrifice for Galt here where Cleese gives up his spot, albeit while also asking Galt to keep that fact under wraps. For another shocking sacrifice, Loba is going to get blue screened this round.
Player eliminated.
Loba has the deck stacked against her at this point, with her selling out her teammates and betraying Revenant and getting rid of the only thing that could kill him just because she knew it was what he wanted and wanted him to suffer instead. That's extremely petty, and if this was a Fallout game, would earn her negative karma with everyone. We've just about reached the halfway point in terms of both rounds left and surviving contestants. Recapping who's left, we have Scout, Sniper, Spy, the Pyromaniac, the Combat Medic, Tracer, Widowmaker, D.Va, Mercy, Sojourn, Kiriko, Luna Snow, Reyna, Sova, Killjoy, Wraith, Bloodhound, Rampart, Ambra, Toby the Penguin, Galt, Sable Ward, Ashley Williams, Tubarao, and Naughty Bear.
25 players remain. Congratulations to everyone who made it this far. Now it's time for everyone to get some rest. Lights out.
They will not, in fact, be getting some rest. In this season, players are able to vote on whether or not they want to continue the games after each round, wearing a patch that confirms which side each of them is on. Tensions are high, alliances are straining, and people are this close to snapping, so it's time for a good old-fashioned brawl. Since this is an unofficial bonus round, it's also going to be the one time where powers and the like are allowed, which means some of you guys might want to hide. Bloodhound has more than enough experience as a tracker to be able to stay quiet for the round, and can know when anyone suspicious may be approaching the hiding spot. This may be typecasting, but given all the dark clothing on Wraith, we can see her and Bloodhound making a truce to stay hidden for the round. Likewise, Sova, Widowmaker, and Reyna will be camping in the background taking pot shots, just like in their games. A surprise pick for a stealth survivor is Naughty Bear. He's been shown to be able to keep a low and sneaky profile when dealing with the likes of robots, superheroes, and even zombies. He'll be able to use his stealth to sneak in a couple of attacks and help Killjoy secure a corner of the room with her gadgets. Ash Williams is more than adaptable to graphic situations and can face off against an army of deadites with his chainsaw hand and shotgun called Boomstick, so he can look out for himself and fight against any approaching foes. Any teams who still are teams at this point will have a huge advantage with each other looking over the others' backs. This is just another day in 2 Fort for Scout, Sniper, and Spy, with Scout getting the attention of others for Sniper to headshot and Spy to backstab. Likewise, Tracer, D.Va, Mercy, and Sojourn can easily rely on each other for the save, even if they're down a teammate for a full 5v5, or 2 for a 6v6 if you're playing by classic rules. However, not everyone who engages here will be lucky, and even a couple of hiders will get caught here. Kiriko is one such hider with her side mode in Mischief and Magic. This should serve to show off her sneaky prowess, but as anyone who played the mode will tell you, nah, Kiriko is too cocky and keeps taunting whenever people pass her, and she was having trouble with a group of rogues going up against a group of Genjis. A firefight with no friendly fire will leave her getting too smug for her own good. Unfortunately, despite now having access to his mech suit, we think that Toby the Penguin is going to be caught up with the mess here.
Player eliminated.
While a giant suit definitely can help, the problem is that he isn't the only one with a mech like that. Looking right at you, D.Va. At least he had a chance to fight back. Sable Ward has no fighting chance here.
Player eliminated.
Her role as a survivor in Dead by Daylight with no outside combat experience is going to bite her hard here. She could potentially hide here and be safe, but given how the only reason she got caught by the entity was that she rushed headfirst into a situation and got in over her head, we feel like history is going to repeat itself here. Luna Snow is going to melt by now.
Player eliminated.
As an actual hero, she managed to get further than her other fallen companions. However, given how she's more into rallying others and supporting them, she's gonna be caught off guard by a more powerful attacker while trying to heal someone. Naughty Bear would definitely be willing to help her out in between keeping an eye on Killjoy and being naughty, but we feel like he's gonna be too late one time, leaving him to vow to protect Killjoy. Finally, while Rampart does have her fair share of weaponry, including a giant minigun, we think she is going to overplay her hand a bit.
Player, you have been eliminated.
Those guns on her can cause her to slow down to a crawl, and even with cover, it takes a while to set her minigun up. We can easily see a couple of players spotting her trying to get her minigun ready and deciding to take her out before she's ready.
Good morning, players. 20 players remain. It's time for the next game, Marbles. You will play the game of your choice with your partner. The player to take all 10 marbles wins. The loser will be eliminated.
In the marbles round, everyone pairs up, and half of them die. To survive, you'll need to be skillful enough at the game to win, manipulative enough to trick your opponent, or, most importantly, ruthless enough to do both. Reyna and Widowmaker were built for this. Not exactly pros at kids games, but manipulation? Lethal charm? Yeah, they'll be swindling marbles with ease, maybe even pulling the old let's start trick and handing the guard a full pouch before their partners blink. Ashley Williams might start off by playing fair, but the second he smells betrayal, it's boomstick threats and demands for honesty. Most fighters by now are either ruthless enough to kill or bonded closely enough to make a gut-wrenching sacrifice. Expect carnage, 10 eliminations incoming. First Heartbreak, Spy, and Scout. Yep, they're canonically father and son. Spy lied to Scout about his real dad. And now, racked with guilt, he sacrifices himself to let Scout live, and maybe break the cycle of bad dads.
Player, you have been eliminated.
Pyromaniac, Beatrice, and Combat Medic are still standing, but Beatrice is far too cold-blooded to flinch. She'll take Medic's offer without blinking. The name Pyromaniac wasn't earned with hugs.
Player, you have been eliminated.
Now it's the final chapter for Naughty Bear.
Player eliminated.
Finding friendship with the Marvel crew and Killjoy in the last round, he's found what he always wanted. Sure, Killjoy could probably outsmart her way through, but Naughty chooses selflessness. He hands her a sharpened rod from Lights Out, then goes berserk in one last glorious rampage against the guards. Killjoy walks away with the marbles. Naughty Bear walks away with closure. You've been defluffed! Also, hey, Behavior Interactive, Naughty Bear 3 Squid Game mode, you're welcome. In Overwatch land, we lose Tracer and Sojourn.
Players eliminated.
With 4 left, it's time to split the team. Mercy and Tracer pair up. She did save Tracer from from space-time displacement after all. Tracer repays the favor with her life. Sojourn, haunted by nearly letting her sister's baby drown, yes, that's canon, sacrifices herself to protect D.Va. Maybe Mercy can res one of them, right? Wraith and Galt are the next to go.
Players eliminated.
Galt's a rebel leader fighting for unity, and Wraith, despite her deadly past, now wants to leave behind the woman she once was. Neither can stomach betrayal, they die with dignity. The final three? Tricked by cruelty. Tubarão refuses to exploit others. Honor to the bitter end.
Player eliminated.
Silva and Bloodhound, two warriors guided by tradition and code, don't expect betrayal until it's too late.
Players eliminated.
Even TF2's Sniper has no qualms. In his words, he's not a deranged killer. He's just doing his 9 to 5.
Dead. Put mum on a phone.
Only 10 players remain. It's time to move on to our penultimate game, Glass Stepping Stones. In this game, players will select numbers that determine the order in which they play.
The game is to cross a bridge made of 2 rows of glass tiles. One will break, the other will not. Unfortunately for those who picked low numbers, they'll basically be cannon fodder. Having a big ego would be your downfall in this game, since going first makes you less of a competitor and more of a test monkey to see which tiles are safe. We're down to the top 10 survivors of the round. Let's see who we have left to compete here. We have Scout, Sniper, the Pyromaniac, Widowmaker, D.Va, Mercy, Reyna, Killjoy, Ambra, and Ashley Williams. 8 people will fall here, and the first batch of victims are those who are egotistical enough to go first. At least that would be the case if it weren't for a mixture of egos, sacrifice plays, and even someone's unique physical ability. First, let's see who may want to sacrifice themselves. Sniper and Mercy. Sniper is a close friend to Spy, as seen in The Naked and the Dead, even encouraging Spy to confess the truth to Scout before he dies, so he may want to go before Scout, even if just to give Spy one last gift of helping his son survive. Meanwhile, Mercy saw most of her teammates die, so she'll want to do everything in her power to save D.Va. As such, we believe that Mercy and Sniper are both going to go before them while encouraging them to go last.
Players eliminated.
Next up, the egotistical ones. While Reyna is cold enough to try and get last, she also has an ego, so higher up, right? Well, there's one problem. Killjoy's here. It's random, but with all her hatred, she hates Killjoy the most because one of her machines killed her sister. Finally exacting revenge, we can see Reyna encouraging Killjoy to take a low number by appealing to ego, and since Killjoy is quite cocky and confident herself, she'll bite, and Reyna will be more than willing to tackle Killjoy through a fake platform in the name of revenge.
Players eliminated.
The next one getting the express elevator down is Ambra.
Player eliminated.
Look, we're not overlooking her character growth, but she's still extremely egotistical. There's the whole condescending mother attitude, but what sealed her spot here was her war with her sister Arya, which started over 11,000 years ago because of how her dolls were arranged. Yeah, she's almost 12,000, and you won't let it go. Only freeing the thralls just to kill Arya. Yeah, going down. Next stop, death and therapy. The next one being burnt out is the Pyromaniac.
Player eliminated.
This gal loves seeing others suffer. It's safe to say she's not all there in the head, so she'll probably pick a middle number to enjoy watching everyone fall up close. We can see her thinking she knows the trick to pass with how much she loves welding or using her glass in her torture sessions, and may be able to see which ones are real, but once the VIPs snuff the lights out, she'll get snuffed out too. Finally, there's Scout, who ends up being a real roadblock here. Without the days have worn away, his ego would have doomed him, but the comic shows growth, gracefully ending things with Miss Pauling, raising 4 kids, and finding some self-confidence. With Sniper giving him a heads up, he lands solidly in the middle of the pack. Not bad, except for one thing, his double jump. Remember Rule 4 about natural abilities? Scout's out here abusing that legwork, letting him skip whole sections, so while he's mid-tier on paper, in practice, he's breaking the game. But does that go against the rules? Here's how we see it. While Scout can double jump naturally, he's still playing by the game's rules with luck. Seeing there are still some choices left, we'll say that Scout's allowed to do it, and even make it to the end due to not having to worry about as many steps as the others, even if the VIPs will have to discuss double jumping in future games. Hey, at least they'll see 2 more die. Despite Mercy's best efforts, D.Va's getting stream sniped.
Player, you have been eliminated.
She'll follow Mercy's warning, but given how there are too many cruel players here, her streaming ego would kick in to help push her through, losing as that last remaining Overwatch member, only to fall like a shooting star. And by Overwatch member, we mean the group Overwatch, not the game. We saw your glare, Widowmaker. Speaking of her, this leaves her and Ashley. It was close deciding who would be more pragmatic to go last. In the end, despite Ashley's cold demeanor, he still tries to do the right thing. Widowmaker, meanwhile, despite being brainwashed, still feels the most alive whenever she's taking a life. So we're saying that Ash is leaving here by falling to hell.
Player eliminated. With that, we've reached our final 2. Congratulations to the Scout and Widowmaker. It's now time for the final round. Prepare for Squid Game.
Rules. rules. In this game, 2 teams, or more often 2 opponents, must go up against one another, with one acting as a defender and the other as an attacker, with the attacker doing everything they can to reach the top of the court, or the squid's head, and touch it with their foot. The defender must do whatever they can to stop them, or at least that's how Squid Game is traditionally played. Here, though, it's more of a battle to the death type of deal. Okay, so first off, this looks unfair to anyone looking on for the first time, or if they saw that admittedly subpar Scout versus Tracer Death Battle video, to put it nicely. Here we have a trained terrorist sniper constantly evading Overwatch, fighting against a Boston battler who complains about his head hurting after performing a head bonk with a teammate. Heck, the only reason Scout managed to get here was because Spy and Sniper sacrificed themselves while Widowmaker was as much of a lone wolf as she could be. This should be a done deal, right? Well, hold on. This battle is a weaponless battle to the death. Does that change the result? It's closer than you might think. Widowmaker is a trained sniper, but that's the key word, sniper. She's way more adjusted to fighting in the background. Any Widowmaker main will tell you that her weakness is close quarters combat. Meanwhile, Scout was born and raised to be as close to his opponent as possible, training himself as a kid to get faster and use his fists to win fights. This immediately gives him 2 advantages over Widowmaker in a weaponless scrap. He could race past to the squid head to win legitimately, or he could focus on beating her with his fists. Not only that, but any TF2 player will tell you that the game's melee weapons are wild, showing how adaptable the mercs can be using anything to hurt others. Finally, he can surprisingly take a lot of damage, managing to win against a bear while bleeding out in a cold day in hell, while inside of a hot dog suit filled with Amelia Earhart's bones, don't ask. Or how he fought a robot army to a draw and almost died in The Naked and the Dead. Sure, he did die in the end, but God brought him back because God's his #1 fan and he was his gift to womankind. We said don't ask. Look, despite his scrawny appearance, Scout has more than enough skills to fight Widowmaker, be it by using his speed, his durability, or anything he can get his hands on. Talon's coldest sniper, Widowmaker, is getting listed as KIA. So with a surprisingly close match, we have the winner of the Hero Shooters Squid Game, the Scout. Your prize is enough money to put your 4 kids through college with more than enough left over for a family vacation.